Razorbacks looked exactly like I feel for most of the game, tired. But no matter what Jake says, agrees, disagrees, it doesn't matter because Kamani Johnson scores 7 points, gets 7 rebounds, and is the player of the game as the Arkansas Razorbacks defeat the San Diego State. What am I saying here? San Diego State Aztecs by a score of, what was the score? 70. I don't even know, man. So it was 78 to 74. So we win by 4. Rough intro. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price. Dude, what a game. We actually texted back and forth whether or not we were going to do this in the morning and decided that when it went into overtime that if we won, we would do it right after the game and get it out, which means I'm going to have to record this and then cut it, upload it, all this stuff. But
it's midnight, and that's why I'm in the closet. And that's why it sounds nice and dead in here, because I'm surrounded. My family's asleep, and I sound like I'm in a vacuum.
Okay, so here's the question starting out. I have this question for you. Ricky Council, 19 points. Anthony Black, 15 points. Trevin Brazile, 20 points. Kamani Johnson, 7 points. Who is the player of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Kamani. I mean, they almost picked him up and carried him off there. I mean, he had literally, I mean, he had the game saving. So if you didn't watch the game, it went like Arkansas came out. It was kind of weird. There was some weird stuff that happens that we'll talk about, but the overall view is the Aztecs kind of looked a little bit fresher than we did. We looked kind of tired.
We looked like we played six. We played like we look like we played like 6 guys for 2 games straight.
Yeah, and they just, I mean, we just looked. I mean, especially Anthony Black, he definitely looked a little tuckered out.
He looked tired, man.
Yeah, and
I mean, and that's no diss on him. Like he's
no.
probably tired.
And San Diego State, I mean, if anybody watched the game between them and Arizona, like they almost beat Arizona. They were a good team. I mean, Arizona went on a run in like the last 6 minutes that got them up, but like San Diego State was neck and neck with them most of that game. But they basically carried a 10-point lead over us the majority of the game, and it was just a series of, we would fight like claw tooth and nail, like playing crazy defense, getting fouls, free throws, just like scratching back a point and then a second point. We had a really hard time getting stops, and it was like you'd get a stop and you'd be like, we just need to score and get this down to 7, and then we get it down to 5, and then they'd go down and hit a 3, and then they'd get an and 1, and then be back to 11. And it just did that the whole second half. We get it to 4, it ballooned to 12. We get it to 3, it go back to 9. And finally, in the very last minute and 45 seconds, we went on a little run to get within, and it was a lot of, I mean, both teams are in the bonus. It was a lot of foul shooting, which we didn't do amazing at. We did okay enough to win the game, but like we could have put that away easier if we had made a couple of those gimmies. But then in the final seconds, we had the ball with a 2-point down by 2 points.
Well, even before that, we're down 2, and they have the ball with 13 seconds left, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they inbound it, and the worst nightmare that you've ever had as a basketball player happens to some poor guy with the last name Butler, I think. And Anthony Black and Trevin Brazile trap him on the sideline. And that, my friends, is your worst nightmare.
Yeah, especially because he wasn't a huge guy either.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I mean, I don't know what you do. And if you see the replay of that, Trevin Brazile is just arms, and Anthony Black's just arms. And I mean, and what does he what happens? He turns the ball over, and Trevin Brazile dives on it, calls timeout. That's what sets up how we go into overtime. But that's a great trap.
There were 7 seconds left at that point. We get the ball. come in after the timeout. Basically, Anthony Black dribbles around, dribble drives, doesn't get a great look, pretty good defense. It comes off, kind of gets tipped once by somebody, and then Kamani Johnson pulls it down and literally has to do one of those. I mean, at this point, there's 1 second on. He literally just has to like kind of catch it, barely come down, and just kind of float it back up there, on his tiptoes, and drops it in as the board turns red. That was overtime, and then
and dude, that's all hustle. That's all just want
well,
to.
and it was well, even the fact that he's in the game is actually something we need to talk about. So then, but to finish the recap, the Hogs pretty much came out and had a 2 to 3 point lead most of overtime, and then at the end, Kamani Johnson got a couple of keyboards even in the overtime, including the last one to seal the deal, where he got the rebound, got fouled, and then went down and gutted both free throws. And at that point, it was a 2 point game. And Council had a chance to put it up to a 3 point game, missed the front end of his free throw, made the second one to put it to a 2 point game. But then they went down, and like I said, Kamani stepped up big, because if he hits one of those, they've still got a couple of seconds to heave a 3 pointer to tie it and go to double overtime. But he knocked them both down, pretty much made it impossible for him. So yeah, he was a stud. He basically, like I said, his stats aren't that great. You had to watch the game to see. It was the rebounds he got and the points he scored.
Yeah, it wasn't just that he had 7 rebounds. It was the seven. He had 7 rebounds and 7 points. It's the 7 rebounds and the 7 points he had, right?
Well, and I mean, he did a good job of playing defense and hustling too throughout the game. I mean, what do you think? What was the thinking for Musselman putting him in initially, you think? Because he didn't start or anything.
I think, I mean, I don't know. I mean, so getting into this, but first, I'll just say that it was a real gutsy win. We were tired, we were worn out. It's a real gutsy win. And it's not just Kamani Johnson. I mean, Ricky Council had a rough first half. You could tell his legs were gone. He was having a hard time finishing. And second half, he just gutted it out. Overtime, gutted it out. And, he ends up with 19 points. And he really just decided he was going to just give it everything he had. The same with Brazil. Brazil Brazil was rebounding all over the place, and he had 20 points, hit some big, hit big shots, big threes and stuff. All those, things you needed to come back, where, to keep, or just things that you needed to keep you hanging around. Brazil was doing a lot of that. Anthony Black, played 39 minutes. You could tell he was exhausted. Still ends up with 15 points. And everybody played really good D. It's not a crazy high scoring game. This is a game that goes into overtime. The defense was really good on both sides, I think. What's interesting is that Devo Davis plays 17 minutes, and I don't know. Is he hurt? Did he do something? I don't know. I'm interested to find out, because he didn't do anything obvious that I'm like, well, he got yanked because of blank. If you look at his numbers, he had 2 points, 1 assist, 2 rebounds, 1 turnover. There's nothing there. I didn't see anything. I don't know what was going on. Mekhi Mitchell plays 11 minutes. Mikal Mitchell plays 14 minutes, and Kamani Johnson outplays them both with 19 minutes, all in the second half and overtime. And what it seemed like was that Musselman decided, I don't know, I'm speculating here, but Musselman this was a dog fight, and he needed a dog. And if you need a dog, Kamani Johnson is that guy. And it seems like Musselman decided that the big guy that he needed, the guy that he was going to have play the 5, didn't have the last name Mitchell. It was going to be Kamani Johnson. Now, I don't know. I don't think it's related to the Devo Davis minutes. I don't. I think that he just decided that the other guys were probably a little more gassed. Mekhi and Mikal were gassed, and he just needed a dude that was going to get in there and just be a dog and just do work. And Kamani Johnson's that guy, man. I mean, that's what he's. Kamani Johnson is without a doubt the best. And Kamani Johnson does silly things sometimes, and he fouls and all kinds of things. But he's the best offensive rebounder on that team. It's not close.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I would like to hear Musselman's press conference and hear if he says anything about it, because I wonder, because if he's just the dog and he's the best rebounder, and it's like, man, I need a guy that's going to be balls to the wall hustle. You always need that guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was nothing San Diego State was bringing to the table that Creighton wasn't bringing to the table in
Mm-hmm.
needing that kind of a guy. And so
I,
what I would like to
I,
know
I
is,
mean, you got to think Kamani Johnson earned himself like an opportunity in this game.
well, that's what I would like to know. I want to know, did he put him in like, all right, I'm going to give him a chance. The Mitchell guys aren't being that effective or something. I'm going to throw him in, and then he just,
You need something. You're like, I don't know, like is it Musselman just being like, you know what, this isn't working. We're hanging around, but how are we gonna get ahead? I'm gonna roll a guy out there, and
I
I don't know.
wonder. I guess that's what I'm saying. I wonder if he put him out there just as a, like, I'm going to go ahead and give him a couple of minutes and let the brothers rest, and then he just was like, based on what he was doing, left him out there. You know what I mean? Because he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. It wasn't like he was blowing the doors off of. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to hear what Musselman. I mean, like I said, he came up huge, but mostly at the end. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he did well the whole time, but it wasn't so well that you would go, well, that's why he's still in there. So Musselman must have seen something particular that he was doing, and I'm sure it was like I said, the hustle. But it's interesting that he was able to, either his gut instinct or something particular that he was seeing.
I felt like he energized the whole team. I really did. I mean, it wasn't just that what he did, getting those rebounds, those timely buckets. I mean, dude, I mean that offensive rebound putback is like, it's ridiculous. I mean, like, that's just all guts, and I mean, it's an incredible, it's a great moment for him, and good for him. I'm really happy for him. I felt like part of the turning point in the game, because everyone looked dead, tired, and no one had legs and stuff. And it felt like Kamani energized the team. It felt like that was a little bit contagious. And like certainly when he made that, when he got us into overtime, everyone looked fresh in overtime. Like everyone like dug deep. And so I don't know if Busman just sensed that he was bringing an energy that we needed on the floor, and the other guys were gonna kind of feed off it, or what. But I mean, and this might be nothing, but um, there was one moment in the game, I think it was in overtime, and the game was still close, and I see Trevon Brazil walking across the court with his arm around Kamani. And Kamani's a guy that's been trying to get minutes and stuff, and it just visually looked like uh, Kamani was making them believe, like, all right, man, Kamani's out here, he's putting it all in. Let's do this.
Yeah, I might go back and watch that game, like, again, because I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what it was like, because in a way I think it kind of speaks almost to Musselman's instincts, because I know what you're saying, but part of that is like, hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when he came in, he was playing, he was, like I said, he was hustling, and I think he was bringing energy, but it wasn't obvious
No.
that it was the kind of energy that was going to win you the game, because he was in there for a long time, and they had like enough time for it to energize and then kind of get beat back down, because like I said, they went on so many of those little back and forth runs. I mean, I don't know how many times they scored 5 points in a row to balloon it back to
Mm-hmm.
a 8 to 12 point lead, but it happened like literally half a dozen times. And you would think by the third or fourth time that's happening, some coaches would go like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to my talented offensive player, or, you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't, sometimes I've seen what you're saying, where like a guy puts a guy in the sixth man or something, and it's immediate. Like, he gets a steal, he gets a dunk, and then like hits a 3 pointer, and he's hyping the crowd, and it's like, okay, he's got the juice. It wasn't exactly like that. You know what I mean? Like, he was most important in the final minutes, but like, it wasn't so clear to me leading up to that why Musselman was sticking with him, because he wasn't doing so well that it was like
Mm-hmm.
blowing away. Like it was like, oh well, you've got to leave him
Hey
out there.
man, he shot 100%. He was 2 of 2.
No, and like I said, I mean, he did like I like it. I mean, I think it does show that like even though it wasn't starkly obvious, Musselman could see that he was being effective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, most people that watch this don't like know us. But if you did know us, you would know that like the game that Kamani had is, I mean, I'd be like dumping the Gatorade thing over Kamani's head and freaking chest button him and like giving him the game ball and stuff because that's the kind of stuff that he did is, which is understated stuff, is the kind of stuff that I think wins basketball games, right? And he was just that guy tonight, and I hope it does result in him getting a more shot. I know Musselman runs a tight rotation. Now Musselman played way more guys. I mean, he was rolling. Musselman knew that fatigue was a problem,
Hmm.
and because I mean he rolled some guys. I mean he rolled Barry Dunning out there for 8 minutes just to see. Nothing really happened with that. There was nothing there. He rolled Jalen Graham out there early for 2 minutes and immediately decided that wasn't it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what Jalen Graham's got to do. He rolled him out there. That wasn't just like that's not trash minutes. That was just like he rolled. He was just throwing something out there, and he threw him out there before he threw Kamani out there, and he threw Barry Dunning out there before he threw Kamani out there, and he didn't like that. And then he threw Kamani out there, and he just rolled with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, and honestly, I was getting pretty bummed out because, like, I mean, it was one of those games where it felt like we were going to lose that game most of the
Yeah.
game. You know what I mean?
No,
And
how many times have we been on here being like, "Hey, it's a close game." Never really felt like we were going to lose it. Uh, this game, I got to be honest, I'm really happy to win this game because I didn't. I gotta confess, I didn't think we were going to win this game. If you asked me 5 minutes left, I didn't think we were going to win this game.
I thought we were going to win the game before it started,
I thought we were going
but
to win it
then
before it started, and I thought we were going to win it at the jump ball at overtime. When we
yeah,
went
at
to overtime,
overtime,
I thought we were going to win. 5 minutes left
especially
in the
because
game.
one of their
Actually,
better players fouled out.
yeah, and 1 minute into the game, 1 minute left in the game, I didn't think we were going to win.
Yeah, no, well, I didn't think we were going to win
Even
between
though,
minute.
even though, let me do this thing right here. One of my coworkers, all the way out in California, for some reason, watching this game, which is nice that it's on ESPN, and he texted me at the half of the game, and he said 35-24 at half. And this is just him texting me, letting me know that he's watching the Razorbacks because he's in California. I'm in Arkansas. He's watching the Arkansas Razorbacks. I
Well,
just want you to.
he's probably I mean, he's probably in San, like, they're not in
He's
San Diego, but they're
he is
close.
he is an hour from San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did. I quote. I texted back. And now I didn't actually feel this way, but I just had to being like a fanatic that I am. I just texted. I've seen this movie before. We'll come back. And the last text I had to him was, as I said, I've seen this movie before. Now, I'm so glad that worked out.
Yeah, that I probably wouldn't have texted anything until that later because I did not feel confident at halftime.
Yes.
Um, and it was like I didn't feel confident through after the first 5 minutes because we just looked tired, and then Anthony Black got in some foul trouble,
Mm.
and then it was if you had it's the whole game is like you had to watch it to understand it because there's a lot of there was ugly at times. There was a lot of sporadic offense, a lot of one-on-one. I would say too much one-on-one, but that I have that complaint. I think I've had that complaint since Musselman's been here. He just doesn't run a system. You know what I mean? He
Yeah,
just gets his
being a bunch of 3 games in 3 days is going to exacerbate that for sure. I mean, guys are just like, what? Like, it makes it hard to make that cut, that you know what I mean, like to make that move without the ball, like, and I think you saw a little bit of that on both sides, but that's That's
And
gonna happen.
it's also the temptation is always more there when you're this athletic and this, when you're that long and fast and talented as all those guys are, you have that option. Whereas if you're like some of these other guys, like I mean, some of the Creighton guys were pretty good too. But I'm saying if you're a 6'2" point guard, with a versus a 6'7" point guard, the difference between your options, you
Mm-hmm.
have to work the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you have to facilitate I mean, Council, Brazil, um, Black, they all, if they don't want to think about it, they all have the ability
yeah,
to take their man with pretty good results a lot of the time. So they've got to be careful about that temptation is so strong
yeah.
all the time, especially when the energy starts flowing. Um, they can, in my opinion, they probably need to settle down in those situations and not take so much ISO basketball. But um, I'm so glad that we won because it would kind of suck to come out of here with more losses than wins, and
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to
It's nice.
consider.
I mean, you beat down Louisville, and it turns out that Louisville's not very good.
Mhm.
And hey, you came out of this tournament with a win over a top 25 team, and that's a good thing, and that's what you wanted to do. And this dude, considering 3 games, 3 days, you just got done playing like your guts out against Creighton, right? And you turn around, you have to play this game. I just think that for a young team, this is such an easy game to lose. Like they're so young, they haven't figured everything out. They've not been playing together very long. This is an easy game to lose, and they didn't. They did not, and that bodes really, really well for the future. I mean, if you can win a game like this now, that's a very, very good thing, I think.
Yep. And now we got 5 games before conference play.
Yeah, yeah.
So our next kind of standout game is against Oklahoma.
Neutral site
And
in Tulsa.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how good Oklahoma is, but that'll still be a big game. Um, but we play Monday.
By the way,
Uh,
I mean, out of curiosity, your answer is probably going to be I have no idea because I don't know why you would. But do you think that we see Nick Smith Jr. before conference play?
I don't know, man. Like they're
Are
they're
you are we
so
gonna
hush hush about that.
are we gonna see him before or are we gonna see him before Oklahoma?
It's weird because his movement on the bench,
Yeah, like
like
they're like he's nursing a knee injury, and then you see him on the bench, and you're like, is he?
he's like jumping up and down and smacking chairs and
Yeah.
chest butting people. And it's like,
And he looks like a guy that wants to play. By the way,
yeah,
like because I've heard people be like, oh, he might just like shut it down and enter the draft. I'm like, he don't look that way.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess they are just probably being overly cautious,
Yeah,
especially because because of his potential, I guess. But I don't know. They're being very hush hush about it.
they are. They are. And that's the thing you got to take. I mean, hey, it would have been great to win this tournament, but come out 2-1. You don't have a top 5 draft pick on your roster. I think the young guys probably learned a lot. I think Anthony Black really emerged. This game wasn't as good as his previous 2 games, but for Arkansas, if you just take the whole tournament as a whole, the whole 3 games, he's certainly the player of the tournament for the Arkansas
Mhm.
Razorbacks. Um, is Kamani gonna earn a role going forward? Maybe. Uh, I thought Council, so I mean, we've talked a lot about Kamani Johnson. I also think, and those are some freaking, those are pretty big heroics by Kamani Johnson. So like they're gonna overshadow most things because that was some heroic stuff. But there were times especially towards the end of maybe the last second half of the second half, the last 10 minutes of regulation, where I felt like Ricky Council really did say, "Get on my back, boys." And I mean, he played really well. I mean, and
Mm.
you could tell early. I thought, I had actually was jotting down some notes, and I said, like, like, hey, Council's legs look done. I mean, he was tired, man. You could tell the first half, like he was just not getting. He wasn't he couldn't finish, and that kind of stuff. And man, I felt like he really probably dug deep.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem to have sort of emerged as right now that sort of. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are playing well. I mean, Brazil's definitely right there with him, but Council seems to be the number one scoring option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Black is going to dominate the ball as a distributor and as a scorer, but it looks like when they need to, he's the, you know,
If
what's
yeah,
what's the
if you're down one and there's 7 seconds left, right now, Council's the guy you want to get the ball.
yeah, it's like he's turning into the DeRozan of
Mm-hmm.
like the Bulls. Levine has the ball all the time, but when you need a bucket, you're going to DeRozan. You know what I mean? Um, if we're also Bulls fans for anybody that's those are Bulls basketball players for
But
anybody
a
who's
bunch of
not.
people in Arkansas, like, I don't know what you're talking. I mean, I know who those people are if you're a basketball fan, but like, whatever. Why are we making 2022 Bulls roster references here?
But yeah, and I mean he was actually I don't know that's another thing I'm not sure. It looked like it was definitely called by maybe by the coach, but I don't know if it was because Black's legs were gone or what. But Council was like bringing the ball up a little bit,
There was one
and
time where the ball where Council someone got a rebound, probably Kamani, I don't know. Someone got a rebound, pass it to Black. Oh, sorry, no, pass it to Council. Council kicked it up to Black, and Anthony just gave it right back to him and just waved him on.
yeah, he actually came up and like got it from him, like almost like the way you would expect Black to do.
And like I don't know if that was called or if that was just Black being like, dude, just freaking take this possession. I got
Mm-hmm.
like I'm freaking tanked here, dude. That's kind. It looked more like that to me because Council gave Black the ball, and then Black gave Council back the ball in the backcourt. Like, nah, like
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, dude. I'm sure Anthony Black, Council, Brazil. I'm sure they're exhausted. That's a lot of minutes, dude. And like, and the way they play defense, because they didn't, they were.
Council's got to be the most minutes, huh?
I think so, dude. I
I think
mean,
so. He played 40 minutes last night.
he played. So he led in minutes tonight. He played 41 minutes tonight. Anthony Black played 39. Brazil played 40. I mean, so those three guys. I mean, like, Council played 41. Brazil played 40. Black played 39. I mean, Jordan Walsh played 34. It's a lot of minutes, dude. I don't care how young you are. I mean, those guys are young, but you do that 3 days in a row, and your legs are trash.
Yeah, trying to guard Creighton point guards and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
It's
here's the
crazy.
thing, dude. Like, even though like on the offense you could tell, on defense, I don't really think you could. Like they weren't. It wasn't like they weren't slacking on defense.
Not on effort. I felt like maybe once in a while you could tell that like they just couldn't quite get their feet moving. You
Mm.
know, I mean that's why
It's
there was a lot of, and I felt like that on both sides.
mm-hmm.
Both teams, it was a little bit sloppy in the second half, which is why there was so many fouls. But it was just it didn't seem like it just seemed like there was a lot like you know how when you're tired and you can't move your feet, you
Yeah,
play defense with your hands. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
you end up
yeah,
hitting a lot of arms and stuff. And it seemed like there was some of that happening just on both sides because I mean San Diego State was tired too.
yeah.
Like so.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like you might not be able to uh functionally do it, but it wasn't for lack of effort.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, the effort was still there. They're still diving on the floor and trying to learn. Tell you what, like I said it last week. Like, did you see Brazil? Brazil was yapping again at the
Yeah.
at the whole San Diego bench, and we were losing.
That coach. I don't know what that coach was saying, and Brazil was just like staring him dead in his eye sockets.
I know it was weird, man. That guy's getting thrown out of a game this year for sure.
Probably so. All right. Well, all right, man. Well, hey, overall, I would say that the Maui Invitational was a really good experience for them.
Yeah.
I think that that's going to help them later on. And, you know, you would have loved to play in the championship game, but at the end of the day, we got to see one really fun game where Arkansas just looked crazy in the second half, and then you got to see two really good basketball games.
And
So,
and the thing is, the reason I feel good about it is because I feel like even though both of those were good games, those Arkansas still didn't play their best games in either one of those games.
mm,
You know what I mean? They ran into problems that are, partially that are just going to happen, like some tough calls and some getting into some foul trouble
mm-hmm.
both nights. Which, I mean, like I said, that's going to happen. But there's also going to be games where that doesn't happen, and you're able to not get in foul trouble and move your feet a little better. Um, and they didn't shoot particularly well in either of the games, and they didn't shoot bad, but it's not like
They shot bad tonight.
they're right. Well,
I mean, dude, they were 3 of 17 from three. That's a 17.6%. It's really
dang,
bad.
they were that bad. That,
3 of 17, dude.
I guess because Brazil hit all of his in the last couple of minutes, it felt not that bad.
I mean, we shot
But
40% from the field,
mhm.
24 of 60, which is not like that's not terrible. But 17.6, 3 of 17 from deep is not good.
Yeah. So anyway, I think neither one of those, they haven't hit their ceiling yet. You know what I mean? Which is why I still feel really good about it. I mean, obviously Nick Smith is another factor, but even with just the team that they have, all of those guys can play better than they actually have already. You know
But
what I
by
mean?
the way, if you want to know what also is true, is that San Diego State, and this is just 3 point defense, which Musselman emphasizes and is always in the top of. At the end of the year, he's always like right at the top. San Diego State shoots 2 of 18 for 11.1%.
That's helpful because we did not need them hitting any more threes than those two.
I mean, so like it is wild to think in this game there were 5 threes made between both teams.
Dude, I feel like I remember every one of them because
Yeah,
I can't believe they only hit two because I distinctly can remember two threes that they hit
yeah,
in
yeah.
the. So it's like those were the only two threes.
That's it, dude.
Dang.
And so that's I mean that's good defense. It's not like guys can't shoot. That's good defense. There's not great shots to be had. That means that guys aren't getting shots where they're squaring up and they're open and that kind of stuff. So that's good. All right, man.
All right,
Well,
everybody.
I'll get this out. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks to all the new subscribers and people watching and checking this out. We appreciate it. We'll be here every game. That's the plan anyway, to be here every game, breaking it down, talking about it. Couldn't be more excited about the season, man.
Yep.
Got those high hopes.
Yep. Well, I'll see you Friday.
Yeah, dude. I'll see you.
All
I'll
right.
see you. I'll see you in the cabin.
Everybody be safe out there. Have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families.
Woo pig.
Peace.